Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. We are here to celebrate tonight with Robbi Nester. I'm Malika Albrecht, the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. We've got a great group. We're going to have a really awesome open mic. And tonight I am really excited to celebrate with Robbi. We've gotten to celebrate with you a couple times over the years. You know, we're coming up on 6 years doing this, by the way. Just a little bit about Robbi and then we've got a beautiful PowerPoint that she's created. So it's going to be amazing. Robbi Nester is the author of 5 books of poetry, an editor of 3 ekphrastic anthologies, a retired college educator. She currently hosts and curates 2 poetry series on Zoom. And really what you're going to want to do, and I'm going to let Michael in while we're here, you're going to want to go visit her website if you haven't already done so. It is in the chat section. And Robbi, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much for letting us celebrate this. I've been looking forward to this newest book.
Thank you. I might say though that you might put in a link to Bookshop again because the links don't stay there for people who come in after you put them up. So if somebody else will put in a link to Bookshop, that would be really helpful. But I'm going to read some poems and Malika's going to show images on PowerPoint to go along with them. And the first poem that I chose is not the first poem in the book, but I think it's one of the keys to the idea behind this ekphrastic collection. And it's called On Adaptation, and it was inspired by a Russian painting by Arkhip Quincy, 1879, called After the Rain, and also by a Russian film by Andrei Tarkovsky, Solaris, the 1972 original version of the film, which you may have seen, and the novel Solaris, which was either Russian or Czechoslovakian, I can't remember, 1961, and it was written by Stanislaw Lem. Maybe it was Polish. I peer from the portal, afraid to find some portion of my past projected on the mirror surface of this alien world. The field beside the barn takes shape as I watch, wrenched whole from its foundation in memory, dropped like a seed onto what had been bare rock between 2 continents. In this incarnation, the rain has just ended, will soon begin again. Dark clouds brood over the fields, flashing, phosphorescent, like deep-sea jellyfish. I suppose at home we'd call this night. And yet it isn't quite. Something other than the ordinary. Cows still browse, yet the sky, spent by the storm, has at last left off illuminating the surface of the planet, a task taken up by this bright meadow, this farm, simulacrum of our green island, Earth. Next. This is the first poem in the book, and it's called Some Assembly Required. It's after a photograph by Sal Taylor Kidd called Watching Pins, which was taken in 2015. The mind is always brewing something, tracing shape-shifting menageries and clouds. Any plain ingredients, flour, water, and a bit of yeast and salt plus time, can rise to the occasion, becoming a new thing. So a handful of steel pins dropped on a table spurs the mind to summon forces far beyond itself, as sages once scanned the entrails of a bird, thrown sticks or tea leaves at the bottom of a cup for wisdom that could change a nation or affect a life. What emerges depends upon the mind at work. Maybe a strategy to solve a city's traffic woes, a way to plan political maneuvers, or a play in sports. Philosophy and science are full of sudden insights of this sort, like Newton's apple, Archimedes bending over water, rising in a tub. The chemist Auguste Kekule learned the benzene atom's structure from the sudden vision of a snake swallowing its tail. In the pandemic, when the rules of ordinary life were all suspended and time became the most plentiful commodity, we could stare at nothing like a cat intent on tracking birds outside the window. People looked back on their lives, hoping to mend old rifts, contacting former friends or enemies, the quarrels long forgotten. We changed, like dough rising at the back of a warm stove. Sequestered in our homes, we braided our loose threads into a pattern, wrote plays, made a family, discovered special gifts we didn't know we had, found power at the tips of our own fingers. This poem is after a sculpture by Maggie Jazek Untitled Hand Fan, but I call it book. Toss a pebble in the still pond and watch the spot swell and spread, becoming the petals of a sunflower, wide eye edged with lashes curling at the tip. That's what happens each time you open a book, the world growing larger with each page, silent ciphers sprouting cities and roads, and finally a Ferris wheel sending its iron tendrils into the air where you sit slowly swaying in your seat, looking out onto the new made world. And maybe that's one for your library, Malika. I did a lot of ekphrastic work after the paintings, very small, tiny, pretty much all abstract paintings by Robert Rhodes, who's also a poet. And this one was after a painting called Quarantine from the Garden Window. So it's another pandemic piece. And the poem is called Summer Sheltering in Place. When I was small, I used to wake before the sun to sit in the still dark living room, turn on the TV, and bathe in the test pattern's bright glow. Now that I so seldom leave the house, I lift the shade at 5 a.m., watch the colors rising one by one outside the window, like an orchestra in which one player at a time joins in until a loud brightness stings my eyes, light sifting through the leaves. Gradually, that slash of green becomes the hedge, the red smudge, a neighbor's truck, backed by a splash of blue, the pool across the street, the color of a cloudless sky. There's still an umber patch of shadow underneath the trees. In the branches of the sycamore, The woodpecker listens hard, then minds the bark to find his breakfast. Like me, grubs hidden there can't escape his hammering. If I return this afternoon, the colors will have dimmed or mellowed, the shadow disappeared. What if the window's frame could suddenly contain another scene? The veld's burnt brown, acacia like a stationary cloud, grazing zebras, lions eyeing me through high grass. Remembering Monet, I look and look again at the same view, find it changed only by light, which after all is everything. This one is after a painting by Sally Swift called Evolving Cyrenian, 2012. And I met Sally and saw her painting at the Aquarium of the Pacific, where I was coming in to read a poem of mine that had won a poetry contest or runner up or something that year. Everything in the ocean becomes something else. Colonies of coral, once a soft carpet of color, become brittle and white, the stuff of island sand. The octopus embodies this quality of change, exactly the shape of whatever it needs to be. The octopus pours itself between two rocks. In the painting, its tentacles curl like breakers, tangled kelp fronds. Caught in the act of transformation, the octopus takes on the blue and orange of a large carcass, flesh peeling in flakes from its side. Then it disappears, skin puckering in mock putrescence, eye gaping like a wound. No wonder sailors wandering at sea once mistook this creature for a woman, hair trailing behind her in the green blue surf, singing the most beautiful song. The book is organized into a few different sections until we finally disappear at the end. So it starts coming into being and then adapting and transforming in the middle sections. Um, this poem is from one of those middle sections, and so was the octopus poem. The transformation, after a sculpture by Aggie Zed called Magician, 2001. Enchantment overtakes us from within. What we become amounts to what we are. The magician's gift is cruel that way. It gives him pleasure to expose the secret self. Here, it's a snake that struggles to emerge like toothpaste out of the victim's human pores. His stunned hands shape the air, his voice the soft hiss of a punctured tire escaping from what used to be his mouth, slipped sideways like a sigh, his head now covered by a burlap sack, the kind once used to blindfold the condemned. And yet we guess that really, under the sack, he has no face at all, no split tongue testing the air, only an expression of the flux itself. And now the anaconda coils enfold his torso, consume his hybrid body. This next one is after another painting by Robert Rhodes. He loves these long narrative titles, which I love too. This one is called the painting is called Fog and Moonlight. Margaret in her nightgown, alone in Bella's yard. Mist rose from the grass into a sky just beginning to grow light. You threw off the rumpled sheets, glided down the stairs and out the door, leaving it open behind you, seeing the yard transformed, the pedestrian bird bath, close-cropped grass masked by fog. Posing like a dancer, you turned your face up to the moon as though it were a mirror, and you an ingenue, as though you knew that I was watching from behind the open door. And then, wishes spent, you stretched under the oak, white shreds of fog caught in your hair, and slept. This next one is about the cover image, which is called Disquiet, and it's by Kylie Spar, um, whose name I put in the chat earlier. On the ocean floor, sleeping groupers camouflage themselves as rocks, cocoon in clouds of sand and mucus, spun out of the substance of their bodies, as spider spinnerets let down a line of silk. I'm like that, like the whelk within its fortress of a shell, shielded in a vaporous swirl. It doubles as a dress of white chiffon, inverted parachute that spirals around my body like vanilla soft serve, ribbon of cream and coffee. When I feel threatened, the dress sets up its own internal wind and weather, swallows me whole. At the first sign of threat, it automatically inflates. I take flight on milky tides of moonbeams, streamers of phantom light. This next one is after a photograph by Holly Wilmoth called The Iguana or Benevolent Dragon, and it's called Woman with Iguanas. Perhaps there are crickets in her hair. This woman wearing a hood of lizards, face framed by their clawed toes, tails crossed beneath her chin like the roots of orchids. The lizards clamber up her shoulders, grasp her hair as though it were their customary vines. The luckiest or the quickest, perching on her crown like trapeze artists balanced on a narrow ledge. She's a jungle, every inch alive. Rain fills and overflows the bromeliad's many goblets, crowned with extravagant pink blooms. Aside from these, this world's the unrelenting green of walking palm, pot-bellied barraconda. The woman endures because she must. She knows explorers will eventually arrive to cut down trees and turn them into cash, to capture wide-winged morphos, loud hyacinth macaws, to plunder all her riches and leave her bare and brown. The last poem in this grouping is perhaps it goes the furthest in this particular direction, which maybe you'll see. And it's after Vincent van Gogh, The Night Cafe, 1888. It's called Holy Hive. It's late, but the cafe glows. Its firefly fixtures, bright orange, walls like the inside of a tulip, and I, a bee, come lately from the fields, entering the enclosed chamber, hushed as a chapel. Intent on my dizzy flight, I hardly see the others at their tables, as in monastic cells, bow low over their glasses. Light as breath, acolyte of sweetness, I approach the altar, the pool table, where ivory balls, cricket click, create such harmony. I feel blessed just to be here, to spend a quiet evening with my own kind. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my heavens, Robbi, amazing. And if people just want to unmute and just for a moment, just say thank you. And thank you for putting together the artwork and reading the poems.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, Robbi. Thank you so much.
Thank
Just
you
gorgeous.
so much for being here.
That was
Thank you.
amazing,
Beautiful.
Robbi.
But every line was magic.
Robbi, it's an enchantment, all these transformations and these flights of imagination, and so packed with such a language.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful work, Robbi. I really enjoyed your reading. This is Nadia Ibrashi.
Thank you so much, Nadia.
I think
thank you
Hetty
for-
really hit the nail on the head. They're enchantments, they're alchemical, they're transformations, and they're just gorgeous. They're just gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm glad to know that busting my brain had some effect.
Oh, Robbi.
So,
It was a very interesting combination of images, paintings, photographs, older works, more contemporary works. I'm curious how much of a pain in the what it was to get the permissions of the pieces that aren't out of copyright, because I know I've had to deal with that at points with an anthology, and it was maddening.
There aren't images for every work, for every poem. So for a good third of them, there are no images. But now Beth Moon has said she will allow, when it has a second printing, she'll allow maybe 4 more of the poems to have images. So I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of people wanting to charge me $5,000 or,
Wow.
you know. And the idea was I couldn't pay one person and not the other, and I couldn't afford to pay anyone. So I couldn't pay anyone. And that was the position that I took. So I couldn't put in some images. But that's okay, because they don't all have to have images.
Your poems work without the image or with the image. I was fascinated just now watching intensely the painting or the photograph while you were reading. But your poems work without as well.
I hope
They
so.
have a life of their own.
Of
I
course,
think
I've been
that's a
hearing this from my husband
very
for
good point.
that I didn't need the images, and Dean Rader, who kindly blurbed, was one of the blurbers of my book, told me you should either have images for all of them or images for none of them. But that's not how it worked out. Still, I took it seriously enough that I sent in the manuscript without any images, and the publisher, Christine Coates, talked me into putting them in.
Interesting.
So
I
yeah,
like seeing them.
I
And,
like
and I
seeing
have to
them
say,
too.
one
I
of the
think
things,
do it. Not everybody knows how to do it. And believe me, other people tried. And I refused to let them because they didn't do a good job, and it's not fair to the artist.
one of
Well,
the things I
fabulous.
think is so stunning is that I could look at that artwork and I would never create such expansive and amazing poems from them, Robbie. And I have to say, someone described, Laurel, you said something I wanted to circle back to, Laurel, in the chat section. You said the Doe Rising poem describes the book in a sense. And I was wondering if you could talk about that, because I thought that was a fascinating idea.
It does. In my interview at Ekphrastic Review, I talked about how this poem was really the genesis of the structure of the book.
Okay.
You know, because the structure was killing me. I just couldn't pull it together for years and years and years. And then I wrote that poem. And then, you know, it was the pandemic, and that helped too. And this stretch of nothing had so much in it. And my whole life in the past, I was walking through memories. I understood the memory palace metaphor very well, because that was how life was in the pandemic for me. I spent hours walking through those halls, and I realized that all creation really had its birth in that kind of meditation.
Okay,
And
even that was
there's
just a poem.
there's
Somebody
such a
had a question? Jump in.
Actually, what I like is I've been in groups where there was some ekphrastic piece as the prompt for people to work from, and a lot of people just kind of describe the image. Um, I almost never just describe the image, but use it as a place to jump off. But you actually had a little bit of description, but went way beyond it. And so I really liked how you used it as a jumping off point to go somewhere.
Well, some people don't like that and they get offended by it, but I actually, by the end of the book, I was working against the grain, like with that final poem. And there was one Picasso piece, and I absolutely contradicted everything that I know about Picasso and his ideas about women to write that poem.
But what we're seeing, I think it's nice to see some of the images, because, you know, even if you can't have all of them, there's you have such a contemplative voice, and it's an active contemplation where you go deep into it and back out. And what we see is the activity of your consciousness and your creativity going into that image and then back, and into that image and then back. And you take the reader or the listener with you, and it is an enchantment. It is a transformation. When I read those poems, I think of alchemy, that it's like an alchemical process, and you're so measured. Your voice is measured, one phrase after another. It's lovely, the pacing.
Thank you.
And Mary, that word alchemic, somebody else had said that too, and I had just written it. The thing I wanted to say, like, that seems to be a key thing. The other word I saw coming up in the chat section a lot was hypnotic.
Mhm.
I hope
Yeah,
I
a lot
didn't
of people.
put anybody to sleep.
Not that kind of hypnotic.
Not that kind of hypnotic. I think it's the transformative kind, where people are acutely mindful in the moment, on this journey with you.
Riveted
Riveted.
and
Yeah.
engrossed.
Does anybody
Well,
have any specific questions for Robbie about the book or about the reading?
well, I think you're pretty much right that it is about the process of making the book.
Mhm. And we did talk about the cover in specific, Robbie, before we really, it was before 7. And I did want to loop people in that might not have heard kind of this story, because I think that that's a neat story with the painter.
Yeah, I just put her name in the chat again. Kylie Spar is a creator of, I guess she uses computers to alter her photographs. I'm not sure of the process, but they're all works that involve women in various strange and surrealistic circumstances. And I just fell in love with her work. Somebody posted one of her pieces on Facebook, and I just went and looked at her website and had to write something. And so I published it originally without the image. And then when it came time to do the book, I wrote to her and she said, because I had sent her the poem when it was published, she said, I love the poem and you absolutely may use my image any way you want.
Mm.
So, yeah, which was really
I
kind.
love that. I love that. And it's such a evocative cover and it's so perfect for this work. I'm just so glad you stayed with it. All that work was well worth it. And I don't know that you've seen this yet, but several people have ordered the book in the chat section. I'd love to see that. And thank you guys for being part of such a supportive and awesome community.
I thank you for supporting me because there were many years when, people thought I was nuts. So, I'm glad that I didn't give up, and I'm glad that people stood behind me and are standing behind me. And I hope that lots of people write more work, because if you could write about these same paintings, then they would go in totally different directions.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's the point.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, I think that's one of the things I enjoyed the most about it, Robbi, is hearing the keen mind behind the observation of art and where it went to and how expansive you went and just really gathered in so much. It was surreal. I think probably right this minute, the iguana one was one of the ones that just stuck to me. I was like, oh, that's just everything about that poem where it went was fabulous. And the leap off point of that photograph, just stunning. It's just wonderful to hear, a poet who really thinks about the images and creates this experience for the reader. I love it.
Thank you. And I love to go to art museums wherever I go and
Makes
find new
sense.
images and new ways of seeing things.
Perfect. And that's where we're just going to stop right there. New ways of seeing things. Thank you again, Robbi. That was just a fabulous reading. Thank you for sending the PowerPoint ahead of time. My computer was lagging a little bit, so I was like, oh, come on, catch up. We're going to go to open mic, and I do have a list of people, but you're welcome to send me a message if you would like to read, and I didn't have your name down. So just know, send me something. And I will make sure I add you. Hetty, I have you first.
What an honor. And it's also difficult after these poems. I wrote the word mesmerizing. I was mesmerized. I was really transported and enchanted. And you sustained, this kind of feeling, image after image, sentence, line after line. It was really wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to be reading a poem that I wrote probably last year, and it appeared in J.Car. Press 1, the journal. It's part of a manuscript I'm trying to put together, going through this pleasure and torture of trying to compile a new manuscript. And it's titled, How Do We Manage to Store Our Parallel Worlds? Do not fear entering the dark woods where silence prevails. Through this passage, we replenish and heal ourselves. Under every imposing tree, seemingly reeking of strength, under layers of growth, a hidden heartwood is shaken. Through this passage, we replenish and heal ourselves. We've learned to bear so many trials unknown to our children. Under layers of growth, a hidden heartwood is shaken. We suppressed and buried scenes that still revisit us in dreams. We've learned to bear so many trials unknown to our children. Insidious bubbles open up to parallel worlds we once owned. We suppressed and buried scenes that still revisit us in dreams. Haggard faces with empty looks, lips spitting piercing words. Insidious bubbles open up to parallel worlds we once owned. We keep our jinns and afrits subdued into shrunken episodes. Haggard faces with empty looks, lips spitting piercing words. Joss paper burns into smoke swirls, chasing restless shadows. We keep our jinns and afrits subdued into shrunken episodes, stored in swollen joints, the way tree burls respond to stress. Joss paper burns into smoke swirls, chasing restless shadows. Stacked in bark's cracks, crevices engraved in hermetic script. Thank you.
Yes, gorgeous. Don't forget to check the chat sections, Hetty. I don't want you to miss, but several people said very painterly and that you paint with words, and that form worked perfectly because when the phrases came back up, it was like, a new way to look at that. Thank you.
So much. Thank you. I love writing pantoums, and so
Yes, it's perfect. I
Thank
love hearing them done well. That's just gorgeous. Glenn, I have you next.
Okay. I wrote this earlier this year, but after Mamdani won the election yesterday, I decided it'd be a good time to read it today after he became mayor of New York. I grew up in New Jersey, and I've taught urban policy and urban economics. So this is Native New Yorkers. We cross the platform from the subway and climb the stairs to the downtown train, or climb the stairs to the sidewalk and walk 9th Avenue to the bus terminal. We are the train boring through Midtown bedrock. We are the bus snorkeling under the Hudson. We are the snowmelt surfing down the river from pine-treed mountains in the Adirondacks. We are the shad and striped bass riding the curl of the wave back to the sea. We are the Christmas lights at Macy's. We are the mannequins walking the runway in lace gowns and asymmetric cuts in designer windows at Saks. We are Edward Hopper gazing through a lonely window past midnight from a bar stool in Greenwich Village. We are Japanese tourists humming along with Grisabella and Rum Tum Tugger, clutching tickets purchased months in advance at a theater on Broadway. We are German tourists noshing on a bagel, honey walnut cream cheese, and the fountains cooling mist by the arch in Washington Square on a hot July afternoon. We are London tourists mingling with the burghers of Calais at the Metropolitan Museum. Chinese tourists munching spring rolls from a Vietnamese street cart in Times Square. Mexican immigrants cheering on a soccer team at a bar under the Manhattan Bridge. Lebanese immigrants serving fattoush and hummus and baba ganoush to bankers on Wall Street. We are Upper East Siders with mocha lattes and the Sunday Times delivered to our condos over Central Park on a snowy morning in January. We are Upper West Siders on an evening run beneath the shade of elms and pines and plane trees in Olmsted Park in July.
I turned it off now.
We are retirees with canes and rollators watching yellow swallowtails dance over purple coneflowers on the High Line. We are families of Knicks fans from Jersey and Westchester and the Guyland, dripping Nathan's ketchup at a street cart on 34th Street, the Guatemalan immigrant ladling the hot dogs with mustard and sauerkraut and chili. We are Columbia pre-meds from Chicago and Bangalore and Enid, Oklahoma, pedaling our bikes to chemistry lab. We are teenagers and 40-somethings high on laser lights and Pink Floyd at a midnight show in the planetarium. We are the homeless guitarist busking at Columbus Circle. We are clients waiting on the sidewalk at a food bank in West Harlem. We are the forgotten, sleeping in a forgotten building with crumbling brick and broken windows on the Lower East Side. We are New York. We are America.
Yes, Glenn, that's freaking fabulous. Yeah, you've got to read the chat sections, and yeah, perfect for continuing that celebration from Tuesday.
Oh, thank you.
It was a good birthday this year. Thank you, Glenn. That was awesome. I have Ron next.
Hi, all. I'd like to thank Westbury Literary Group for, you can't even see this, for publishing my 10th published poetry collection, You Who Are the Stranger. There's the cover. And I'll do two short things from it. First one was written 40 some odd years ago on a writer's holiday in Vermont. It's called Further Thoughts on Phil Oakes, 3 summers after his passing. Sun files through the pine needles. Bugs filter through the light. Wind tickles the maple leaves. The light profiles a spider's web, half torn, which shivers in the final breeze of summer as the leaves resume their turning. And the second one is a haiku. This book has some free verse, some blank verse, some metrical poems, some prose poems, and a few haikus and senryus. Like brown, withered leaves scattered in shimmering winds, beliefs drift away. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Ron. I wanted to remind you, put your link to your book and congratulations on the book and check out the chat section. And if you would like to do a book celebration, just reach out to me. I put my email in the chat section, but I'll put it in again. Thank you. I'm glad you were here. I have Lindsay next. There you are, Lindsay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your poems. Robbi, gorgeous reading. Absolutely beautiful poems. Thank you so much. I'm going to read a new poem, and I'll just preface it by saying I live in Northwest Colorado, and it takes a long time to get anywhere here. So I took a 4.5 hour drive to a doctor's appointment over a pass and through a canyon. And this is my poem about that. It's called Driving Through Poudre Canyon. To my right, whitecaps rush over rocks, moss, velvet, and slime. I drive through Poudre Canyon, windows open, hear my motors purr, the shrill wind, and the water's gibberish. Squat trees are crosses draped with stoles, sacred and heartbreaking. Lenten vestments to my left. A rock wall there, a suicide drop. I've witnessed such shock, fetal in death's arms, her body cut into silver crevices where rams butt horns. Despite making turns like ringlets for over 40 miles, I smile at the young buck frozen on the road's shoulder, say cheese in hopes he smiles back. I can't resist snapping a photo of the mountain, dream of sharing its snow peaks, pinkish white, mountains that hover like moose, enormous black beasts that cause fatal crashes, testifying to nature's power. I hear their warning about respect. Scary hairpin turns behind me. I merge onto pastures of white-faced cattle, docile and slow-eyed, grazing on grass, some daisies limp in their mouths. Time is on my side. I'm lucky to be alive. My vision, a match to brittle grass, is flammable. Awe It fills my senses, and I shudder away from my dark mood and into peace as aspens shiver off their pale green for gold. Each leaf like a great magician's bright coin, cool between my finger and thumb. Thank you.
Holy smokes, that was the tour de force of gorgeousness. Yeah, what amazing imagery. Please, yeah, and look in the chat section, Lindsay. There's so much going on. Oh, that's gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, I have you next.
Okay, this is fresh ink from this morning, inspired after reading Michael Heddich's poem, Several Ways to Vanish in the Halo of Bees. Oh, that man inspires me. Okay. When we were new, we treaded water together as one, bathed in moonlight, naked by choice, revering each other as if no other souls existed. We held each other and the moon, unknowing the wickedness of the world. This was once. As we kissed, revelers stole our clothes for a while.
I love it. Oh, great sounds, so playful and great sounds. And I do like that new poem, Smell. And the Naked by Choice. Thank you, Karen. This is why we have just an amazing open mic, because y'all show up and just bring the good stuff. Laurel, I have you next.
Okay. And tremendously enjoying the lineup. And Robbi, I followed along with your book, so I can hear you when I read it now. This is actually not from my current book, but it's from the one that's going to come out next year from Shanti Arts. And this poem is called Half the Green Donkey Left Russia, and it's an ekphrastic poem after the Green Donkey by Mark Chagall. Most of my work is ekphrastic, and it's mostly standalone, which doesn't cite the artwork. Half the green donkey left Russia. My young grandfather raising an axe, then down on the dorsal spine. He wobbled the two-legged half-animal deep into birches, where it would undergo survey from wolves and vultures. His mother stuffed lunch in his pack, gestured, "Remember us," with muddied gloves, cheeks the red of her apron. I've read stories. In one, a woman dies in childbirth and is given a donkey's burial. In another, a man arrives in New York, meets a woman at a cafeteria, and one night on his way home sees a ghost. Could he have produced the hide of a donkey out of passion, like a wedding dance where feet braid together? Could my grandfather have done the same thing, wallpapering homes, produced a donkey between sheets, floral and striped? In his Flatbush apartment on Shabbat, pinstripe suited, my grandfather read the paper. Peekabooed under each word, his mother's voice. Keep yourself good. Stuffing his pipe, he remembered her mumbling to a neighbor, the rest of my days. Imagined her rearranging the clothesline so the word days would come first and the word rest would appear in a field of blueberries. All these years later, I can't help wondering if his letters to his mother were enough to break her quiet nightmares. I know so little about him. He was in his 80s when my brother and I were young, ushered us along a busy boulevard to a store where he bought us silly putty. His face wrought deep lines, body shrunken, as if back in Russia he'd stored everything into small compartments. I never asked. Did his mother find the half donkey among trees and buttercups? Would it vanquish the cave of tears forested into her as she tugged its side? What can I do with half? She must have said. Maybe forget the chaos of being a Jew in Russia.
Holy smoke. That poem's on fire too. Laurel, make sure you check the chat section and congratulations on book published this year and the one that's coming for next year. Definitely
Thanks,
would want
Micah.
to celebrate with
Appreciate
you. And I love what Robbi just wrote. The opening astounded me. I had a lot of astonishment during that whole reading. That was just fabulous. I have Gary T next.
Thanks. This was written a couple of months ago to a prompt, which, as far as I can remember, had something to do with what was called future awareness. That is, being aware of the future you want to have. And I was also at that time staring down the barrel of another impending birthday. So, oh, and I also, during the process, have looked up the etymology of the word surprise. A taking unawares, different than the other unawares lately, is what I want this would-be morning. First off, nobody may get sick or die unawares, unforeseen, out of the blues. Children may be aware of wonders taught by the time they get home, but always arrive home. I'm aware Anna's hummingbirds won't light on my fingers, but bless them for their whir. While I await what I want, not unaware of marvels drafted by others' ballpoints, brushes, blades, line by whetted line, I whistle low and keen for what will be once the whole is witnessed. And I learn again of atoms, photons, the same miracles flashing in new light, and therefore worth the risks. Since surprise once meant unexpected capture, I am grateful to take my chances to be caught with defenses down. A hostage to I am grateful to take my chances to be caught with defenses down, a hostage to everyday extraordinaries. That drop of rain in all this drought, some sudden chance to comfort a stranger on a bus, the next poem, portrait, white pine outrigger canoe about to begin its impatient voyage where no eyes have beheld such a thing. Catch me now, though, please. I'm near 77, and autumn days are shorter.
Oh, Gary, fabulous. Yes. Catch me now, please. And I love what Rose, fabulous way to put that. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. And make sure you look at the chat section. I don't want you to miss what people were saying. Yes. Ellen, I have you next.
Okay, thank you. And also, I just want to concur how beautiful this host, evening has been. Wonderful reading. Great to hear, and congrats again, Robbi. And this has been just wonderful. So thank you. Jean-Michel Basquiat lost his spleen in a car accident when he was a kid. What's in the spleen? Could the loss have made him prone to heroin, prone to sad eyeballs? The image of him alone in a bar on New Year's Eve. Life is a little bit like years turning a corner. He painted on doors when he had no money for canvas. He went through doors and windows like he was building a house from within. Footsteps rang like a heartbeat. Paint scattered on Armani suits as a clock leaped like a high school athlete full of promise and birdseed bones. We're part animal, part anima, part anime and part animal cracker, playful and wandering through the molecules we inherited. We are dunked suddenly in a gene pool, and there are no lifeguards to warn us. We have moments where we think we're in a koi pond. We swim as serene as a neon goldfish. I was once drawn to a goldfish at Junior's Deli because it reminded me, with its swagger, of someone I once knew. It had this human expression. I once was sitting in a car at a gas station, and there was a dog looking over at me and nodding with the weight of the world on his snout and fur. He looked at me with complete empathy. There was no distance between us. He seemed like he really understood. Heads or tails, do we choose? The coin of our life flips any which way. Who knows how it will land? We dive into life anyway, not exactly sure if the pool is full of ice panes, soft things, or simply air. Thank you.
Holy smokes, Ellen. Oh, that was fabulous. The turns and all the things you did with that poem, just magnificent to hear and watch. That's just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Just a reminder, yeah, please check the chat section. You'll see where we were all lighting up, Ellen. Just this is why our open mic just burns it down. That's right. People don't leave anything behind. Gary R., I have you next.
Okay. I put a link to the photograph in it, and this is an old photograph, or it's an old poem after a painting by an Arizona artist who's also a poet called David Charlton. And I came about it in the 1990s in an art museum in Houston and lusted after it and wrote a poem. And eventually my parents bought the painting. So it now hangs in my house. Anyway, this is called A Chinese Court. Only the curve of the roof line betrays the unraveling knot of figures, marks indelibly these 5 Chinese, anonymous in dark coats, bundled against the oblique rains that falls from the mottled red of a raw sky. Silhouettes cross a court, blurred of all detail, as if the rain had dissolved everything that lacked permanence of form. They walk with backs all turned in resignation, tired from carrying the red weight of the sky.
Oh, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yes, bored of all details as if the rain had dissolved. And I love hearing the backstory that you now have it in your house. That's a long relationship with. That's awesome. I have Judy next. Yay, we get to hear from Judy too.
Hi, after the long time that trying to do an ekphrastic poem did cost us last night at the reading that many of you were at, I said, no, not going to do that again. I don't remember where this poem was published. It's not in any of my books. Full Moon. When the moon is mined, when it's visited by reusable spaceships, when it's a drop-off spot for scientists and billionaires to hop to Mars. If this earth we know survives, will earthling lovers wrapped in each other still gaze at the colonized moon as it's caught in the naked arms of the trees and released? Will children stay up late to watch from their bedroom windows as the moon's silvery, impossibly vertical frisbee soars over the roofs and is lost? On silent, frigid nights, will the icy moon still seem to clang in the black heavens like the bottom of a struck pot? Will anyone watch as its pale face floats up in the morning sky, transparent as the bells of jellyfish? When the moon is mined, will we mind? Can its round disk remain a blank slate for us to engrave our wonder upon?
Holy, powerful poem. So perfect. Somebody wrote, you expressed perfectly what I had recently thought and couldn't even come close to expressing this beautifully. Very powerful. We need like breaks for a moment to let that sit and then go back in. That you guys are amazing. Mary, I have you next for open mic.
Okay, this is another Eve poem. She seems to be constantly over my shoulder, having something to say, and it's an abecedary. It's called Eve's Alphabet. Adam was never satisfied, blamed it all on me, couldn't see the point in my defiance, always sulking, even arguing it was none of his fault. He was more than grateful for God's scant handful of grace, that it was I who always grumbled, jealous of the rainbow angels, keeping us boxed in tight, leaving little room to refuse miracles of management we never were supposed to ignore or object to, forever prisoned in this narrow plot. No questions left, but how to best reflect our gratitude, smiling and bowing past each temptation, and never once uneasy with his odd commands, virtues demanded beyond sense, without excuse or explanation, wild xylophones designed to teach us yet to sing and be content, blind zealots chained to his command. That's it.
That's
Thank
right,
you.
Spicy. You go. Oh, it's fabulous. Thank you for bringing Eve, Mary. And make sure you check the chat section. I don't want you to miss that. Francine, I have you next. Oh, unmute Francine, sorry.
Trying. I'm sorry, I couldn't quite do that. Okay. Hi. Well, first of all, congratulations to Robbi. That was a gorgeous, gorgeous reading. And it's really, really lovely to see everybody here. And thank you for Malika for doing this. Okay, I'm going to read a poem from my new book, Some Distant Pin of Light. And this is called The River's Wife. Each night, I ask him if he still loves me. He tells me instead how he started out as a handful of rain, a mountain stream, how it all grew into a muscled flow. I ask him again, and he goes back to hiss and spin. I give up, head home, lonely, cutting my feet on scrags of rocks and fallen twigs. Some nights I wake up, go to the kitchen, turn on the faucet full blast, water fingers lacing my own. My father warned me. He said, the river is made up of tears from all the fish that never made it out to sea. He said he was a river once, a foaming, raging twist of a man who lured my mother from the banks, how she gave up girl-like to his tumble and roar, how I myself am part river, how if I listen close enough, I can hear the hiss and watery spin that is louder than the beating of my heart. Thank you.
Oh, that's gorgeous, Francine. I just love that poem and how the river, I am the river. Yeah, the division between people and the water is null here. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Check the chat section. I don't want you to, there's so many comments in there. I can't even keep up. So I want you to see them. Thank you. Susanna, I have you next. Yay.
Well, I know Robbi's work, so I thought I'd bring in something about art. And this is called Phallic Girl, which is the title of a mannequin by Yayoi Kusama, who I've written a number of poems about because I just adore her work. A 16-year-old girl examines the mannequin, a fallacy of phalluses, compulsion furniture, phallic dress, shoes, armchair, rowboat with phallic protrusions, phalluses jutting from the female form, meant to obliterate phallus phobia, conquer aversion through repetition. The 16-year-old girl has seen only one human phallus, that of her art teacher. He shows her a famous photograph, young Kusama, gorgeous, stylish, an object of desire who lies naked on a sofa covered with hundreds of upholstered erections. He phones the girl daily. The girl is puzzled at how Kusama explained her relationship with Joseph Cornell. I disliked sex and he was impotent, so we suited each other very well. Cornell was 60, the first time he kissed her, the first time he kissed any woman. They were passionate, platonic, unlikely allies who sketched each other in the nude. His mother doused them with cold water. He talked with Kusama daily. The war was going on. Despite her proclivity for celibacy, Kusama offered Richard Nixon sex if only he'd stop the war in Vietnam. Dearest Richard, I will lovingly, soothingly adorn your hard masculine body. The 16-year-old girl tries to imagine the institution in Japan where the artist has chosen to live, the Seiwa Hospital for the Mentally Ill. The girl, a voyeur of hallucinations and obsessions, studies the sweet license to be aberrant, decides to dive in. I will tell you about the freedom of self-obliteration, the sculpture whispers of nothingness. Thank you.
Oh, those last 5 lines, I just need printed somewhere to think about. Holy smokes, that was amazing. Amazing. And I was like, I just want to hear that again. Yeah, the freedom of self-obliteration. Just bravo. Thank you, Susanna. And make sure you check the chat section because I think there's like 7 different comments. Oh, it's powerful. Conquered aversion through repetition. Yep. Bob, I have you next.
Okay. As always, a short one. Boundaries. What is known, only useful in the night. What is spoken, only the boundary of what is permitted. The distance traveled, always more than what is measured.
Truth. Oh my gosh, that's powerful. And I always have to watch with Bob because I'll want to write something down and if I turn away, I'm gonna miss something. Thank you, Bob.
Thank
That's
you.
gorgeous. I have Laura next. Yep. Unmute Laura.
If I can get it to work, that would be great.
Same.
Okay, I'm gonna drop an image in the chat. This is an ekphrastic poem I wrote a while ago, probably at one of my MoMA open writing sessions. This is after An Milei's untitled photograph, Ho Chi Minh City, 1995. Ho Chi Minh City, 1995. 20 years later, on the Saigon, Sanyo and Hitachi obliterate the landscape that was once a war zone, a place to flee from. Your grandmother carried your mother on her back, nestled among the sacks containing a few prized possessions, a jade pendant, clothes, her own parents' wedding photo that somehow survived. Unlike her husband, now a ghost, gone to fight the Viet Cong, never to return, or her village, burned to cold ash. Only she and her precious daughter remained, racing through the streets to the embassy, pleading for Americans to lift them away from home.
Wow, Laura, that is powerful. This is one of the reasons I love this open mic because we get such a range of poems and styles but all of it written skillfully and with passion. I just admire y'all so much. I have Rose next, just to let you know, I have Rose, Cindy, Tricia, and Cal. Those are our final 4. Rose?
Okay, I live in Lima, Peru. So I thought I read one I wrote about Peru when I had arrived, because I still saw things that I don't see anymore because it's now been 15 years. Somewhere in Peru, 5 babies to feed. Thank God for the sugar, your man says, and lifts his machete. Up, down, up, down, the swing sure and practiced. Your eldest sells cane hearts to passing tourists. Un sol for a packet of 10. Si, senora, 30 cents. Little one tied to your back, you bent over the cotton shrubs. But tonight you dance, Nayarak. Bob and wheel on calloused feet, your body, your voice revealing what moves you. Hardened hands clap, goading you into forgetting. Thank you.
Oh, that's gorgeous. And oh my gosh, I imagine there is so much you've seen change in 15 years there. It's powerful. I'm glad you're writing poems about that. Yep, but tonight you dance, hardened hands clap. I love the music of that too. Cindy?
Okay, as usual, I have short poems. I was lucky enough and flabbergasted to have 10 poems accepted for Chala Needles. They were solicited from me by the guest editor, Gary Mitras. I do know Gary, but I don't know why he picked me to be one of the 10. I honestly thought he'd take none of them. He took all of them. So I have like 8 pages. I'm not going to read all 8 pages, but I'll read one haiku that he took. And by the way, Robbi, that was amazing. You know, I know you from Facebook, and I don't really know your poetry all that well. And tonight, I mean, I'm going to put in an order for your book as soon as we're off. That's gorgeous. I've gotten a taste for ekphrastic poetry because of these readings. Haiku. Rowing away from the barnacles of my psyche, still stuck in toxic sludge. And I'll do my funny Whitman poem. It's one line. I'm a copy editor by trade, so I pare down anything that's a little too long. And I love Walt Whitman. We all love Walt Whitman. He's a Brooklynite. He walked these streets that I walked. But his poems were a little long, especially Song of Myself. So I did Cliff Notes for Whitman's Song of Myself, or how to pare down 52 stanzas into one. Grass, workmen, equality, yorp, 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 boot soles. Any questions? Oh, he had to say.
Cindy.
Thank you. And this is a great, great reading.
Adore you. And that haiku, you know, I need that as a t-shirt some days. Oh, it's so good. Oh, thank you, Cindy. Tricia?
Thank you so much, Malika, for putting this together. And Robbi, sorry, some of you don't know Robbi facilitates workshops at the Poetry Salon, and we get to see her on a regular basis. And sometimes, you know, you just talking to people and you think they're just normal people. And then I hear Robbi read, and I'm like, gosh, how did she get to be so good? So thank you, Robbi. I mean, really, truly, these are poems to be savored. I'm going to listen to the recording of this. I'm going to get the book. I'm going to be teaching these poems again, I'm sure. And I'll also say Robbi is a very generous teacher. And this end of November, the Poetry Salon is going to offer a week of free workshops for anyone who makes a donation to the Second Harvest Food Bank, because I know there are so many people out there who are struggling, and that is something we can do as poets. So if you want to know more about that, I will put the link to my Substack where I make that announcement in the chat. I'll be facilitating. Robbi facilitates on Saturdays. We've got some other folks who I haven't confirmed yet, but watch the space, and I'll be announcing them soon. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. So whatever you can contribute, please do. And please come and have fun writing poems with us. This is called, on that subject of worrying about people and whether or not they can eat, this is a poem called The First Time I Was Hungry, because I grew up in a kind of a farming town, backwoods of California, and we grew up in, below the poverty line. So this is something that really touches me. This is called The First Time I Was Hungry. We were not as hungry as we could have been, my mother reminded me. It was the end of the month. A new emptiness rose up in the cupboards, the sky, a dinner bell, not dead, just resting. Figs fattened on the tree in my neighbor's yard. Men were coming home from their construction jobs, driving by, blaring Billy Ray Cyrus on their working radios. My friend's mother knocked on the door after door, selling Avon products we could not afford. My mother worked some squat grains of rice out of a bag, pulled a can of tomatoes off the shelf. My father brought in a cabbage. My mother chopped its leaves, her face pretty and pink in the steam. Inside our mobile home, the night grew warm as stew. We bowed our heads. Hunger turned to prayer in the stomach, and the mouth opened wide as a confessor's door. And that was originally published in Still, the poetry journal, and they're a great journal, so check them out too.
I'm not surprised that's published. That's just powerful. Very powerful.
Can I pipe up? Can I pipe up for a moment?
Please do. Please do.
I just wanted to say, Robbi, this was absolutely marvelous. I cheated because I've written a review for Robbi's book, and I've seen all the poems and all the images, and just seeing the images and hearing her read it was magical. That's one thing I wanted to say. Absolutely brilliant. And the other one, Malika, I was very often tempted to send you my rejected poems, of which there are many. But I'm just such a persistent old thing. I send them out again. And then they find
yes, I want you to do that.
And in fact, there is one poem that was rejected by one a journal, and then a few months later, it was happily accepted with compliments. So, you never know.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I would say is that, it's just really the idea of putting it back out there, because even I had at one point I kept a list of the places that we had dumpster dived, so to speak, or that had rejected the poems previously, and I had to put Redheaded Stepchild on that list because we rejected somebody that we later accepted their poems. So there's a lot that goes into editing. You get a poem one day and you read it one way, and then the next time you see it, you're like, oh no, that's fabulous. It's a funny thing.
Humans, and we have different days, and we feel differently on different days, and we react differently. And
you rejected me the first time. You did
really
reject me. You did reject me the first time, and then I resent another one, and you took it. So I was surprised. We didn't know each other then. You took root, and I was after Great Weather for Media rejected it, and then they accepted another poem of mine. So it's
exactly
like,
that's be persistent. Be persistent and keep sending it out. And that's a perfect story. And thank you, Cindy. I didn't know that.
And that was, well, yeah. Yeah.
You just never know. And just because one batch wasn't a good fit for whatever reason, yeah, rejection just means try again. I think that's a perfect way to say it, Francine.
Well,
Well, thank
okay. I thought it was funny that, I told everyone the place that takes rejected poems rejected my damn poem. It's like
Okay,
my
so
rattle poem.
friend,
He rejected me
yeah,
12
I had a friend that used to say, start a magazine called Bastards of Redheaded Stepchild for the rejections that you rejected. Guys, be well. So good to be in your company. Thank you so much, Robbi, and thank you to everybody that read for Open Mic. Just amazing.
Great. This was amazing.
Thank you so much to
I
you,
got to see a lot of my friends that I know would be here. Robbi, that was awesome.
Amazing.
And Malika
Thank you,
is always
guys.
a great host. She never
Well, that's
rejects
because it's like
anyone
having a party. Come on. This is the easy part. Thanks, guys.